So it was 1962-63 when this text came to us. And it came to us through Mr. Al-Qazi actually. He read it and he had a discussion with Fabri Bharti in Bombay and he proposed to do it. And we were students at that time. I was a student at NSD at that time. So we were naturally in the cast. And he one day, as we read the play, talked about its substance, its theme and things like that. And we were enthralled by the whole idea of putting Mahabharata in a different way, in a more contemporary way. So we were all very excited that we are going to do it, and we didn't know how we are going to do it and where we are going to do it. Al-Qazi realized, he once told me when we were driving in his standard car, he told me that the earlier production which was done by Satyadev Dubey in Bombay, he saw it and he didn't like it because it was too cramped. And the play somehow requires a space which is wider, which is big, and it cannot be produced as a drawing room play. So I asked him, what are you going to do? So he said, I'm taking you to the site. So we went to Firozshah Kotla and we selected a site, I and him basically, and he told me he's going to work here. It was just a plain wall and weathered for hundreds of years and some arches. That's all it had. And he put up a 80 feet wide stage. And I had never seen a thing like that. I said, we will be lost there while acting, we'll be lost in an 80 feet wide, kind of a stage. And he says, it has that scale, it has that Shakespearean Greek tragedy-like quality about it. It needs a wider space. And you guys will have to compete with that stone, with that monument in the background, and come out as actors stronger than the monument. Otherwise our play is lost. So you better brace yourself up. But that was the initial conversation about the space that I had with him. And then later on, we were just so focused because through him, he had a quality as a director that he got every actor completely focused on the job. I was given Sanjay and in my mind I worked out an interpretation which was discussed with Mr. Qazi, experimented in the class, and intuition plays a great part in this. Instinct also plays a great part in this. One day, it so happened that I was so charged with energy that I was able to give him the kind of Sanjay he was thinking. And he told me that you have explained the play, the scale of the play to the rest of the cast. So I'm grateful to you. Now this coming from my guru was a huge kind of a boost. So we did it. He took the entire cast to eventually to the place. We all saw it. Even when we were rehearsing it in a room, we were conscious of that space where we are going to perform it. And then each character, it was very challenging, each character had to be a little bigger than life because he was very conscious that they come from Mahabharata, these characters. So each character, now there was a special technique for that, which he introduced, for example, various voice training exercises, physical exercises and all that, and speech. Though his speech, Hindi speech, was not good, but he had a pandit in his house to explain the whole thing to him. Exercises in speech, in diction, in slowly building up to this great performance of Andha Yug, which was done. I still remember that Jawaharlal Nehru came to see it in Firozshah Kotla, along with his entire family in 1962 or 63, I think, 63. Entire family. Indraji was also there, Sanjay and Rajiv were also there. And they saw the performance. And after that, Panditji congratulated all of us, came on the stage, shook hands with us, and it was a great moment for us. And subsequently, we did about 7 or 8 shows of Andhayug in that space. Subsequently, almost everybody who had anything to do with theatre in Delhi saw it. And finally, there was Charles Fabri, who used to write for Statesman at that time. And the Statesman at that time was a big paper. And so Charles wrote, Al-Qazi's Theatre, I still remember the headlines, Al-Qazi's Theatre, close to greatness. And Charles Fabri was no ordinary critic, It's not like, cub reporters who just come in and, sir, give us a bite. Not that kind of thing. It was a different, very deep, thoughtful journalist who knew Indian culture very, very well, who stayed, he was an Hungarian initially, but stayed on in Delhi because he liked it so much, because the monuments and so on. He was steeped in Indian culture, Charles Fabri. So when he wrote that, and when our names appeared, it was very, very encouraging. We were all thrilled. As far as the costumes were concerned, they had a sort of a Greek touch to it. And it is important to remember that in ancient times, there was a lot of give and take between India and Greece. And most of the motifs that you find are present in both cultures. So, in any case, it is believed that ancient Indian costumes had something to do with the Greek influence and all that. Now, who has seen Mahabharata? We don't even know whether it happened or it didn't happen, or it's just a piece of fiction, or it's a great story, or it is history, or what it is, We do not know, but it is such a great work of art, everything in it, the whole worldview is inside it. So, we didn't know, so he took some of the ideas of the Greek costumes and so on, and he incorporated it. So, therefore, as an actor at that time, I never thought that I would be a director and one day I would be directing Andhayug. I never thought that I would be the director of the National School of Drama where I was studying. Ultimately, we did that production and we were very satisfied with it. There was some criticism and some very great reviews about it. After that, I came back to this text after meeting the author in Bombay, and I did it in a studio theatre. I discarded Al-Qazi's idea that it is a big play and it needs to be done in big space and all that. First of all, it was not available to me at that time. I was heading the theatre department in Punjab University. I was a professor head there. And I had a small storeroom, this much space, little bigger than this. And I put it up in that studio theatre. And the intensity, well, I shouldn't be saying that people who saw it, the intensity was so much in the actors that the small number of people who saw it, were completely enthralled because we couldn't accommodate too many people. So we increased the shows. We showed it to the entire university. Theatre people in Chandigarh, they all came and saw it. I think somebody from Sangeet Natak Academy was also watching it. And as a result, I got the award from the Sangeet Natak Academy. We repeated the same production in Hyderabad then, because that time Girish was heading Sangeet Natak Academy. And that year, when I got the Sangeet Natak Academy Award, it was held in Hyderabad, not in Delhi. So Vice President had come, and not the President. So doing it in a smaller space, I still felt the need that it needs a certain cosmic dimension to it. It needs a mythological dimension to it. It needs a connection somewhere with something much more than we do in honor. It's otherworldly. Had to be there. So that presence, that cosmic presence that I needed, was created by simply by creating a ceiling, and no light was visible. All the lights are behind that white curtain, and there was a red concentric circle on top, and that suddenly uplifted the whole space, and another white opening up on top, that became part of the set. And the audience saw it because it was a small space. Audience saw it together with an actor. Sometimes against that, because there were low, actors were a little high, and there was the ceiling, low ceiling, no lights, only diffused light coming from, filtered light coming from this ceiling, false ceiling that I had created. I thought it was satisfactory in some way, and people still remember that a small production of Andha Yug. I had a desire to rebel, I had a desire to do something different with the text. Then I and my wife were sent to Mauritius as theatre experts to create a theatre movement in Chandigarh, in Mauritius. Now we were there from the External Affairs Ministry, and it was a funny situation that we found it very funny that people were divided, Tamilians of Indian origin, horizontally and vertically. So we had to do not one, but 14 or 15 different drama groups. We had to, not groups, but festivals. I organized them in festivals. The festivals, just to sort of create an enthusiasm for theatre in Mauritian public. These youth clubs we tapped. They had youth clubs all over the village. We tapped these youth clubs. And we said we would do it in whatever language you are comfortable in. So some opted for Tamilian, some Tamil, some opted for Marathi, Malayalam, and so on. All grew Hindi, Bhojpuri, because most of these people have gone from these areas, coastal areas. So then they are 60%. And my brief from the Prime Minister himself was that these people who do not have a voice, give them a voice. They are 60% and they have no voice in the culture of Mauritius. So I and my wife, we started working on that. We went to the club, we took rehearsals, and ultimately we were able to sort of generate enough enthusiasm in public that we were able to put up these 16 different drama festivals in different languages. As a result, the government there had great confidence in both of us. Their confidence in us, that we deliver, increased. And we were asked to do a big play. Now, what big play can you think of? So I immediately thought of doing Andha Yug. I put it up there in Plaza Theatre, and then from Mauritius, it was brought to India. It was for the first time, I think, never happened. Entire foreign cast, except my wife who had to do, I couldn't find a Gandhari, except my wife. The entire cast was Mauritian. So it's a foreign cast, Indian play, Indian language, and it came here. We performed in Nagpur, Vishwa Hindi Sammelan, World Hindi Sammelan, and in Delhi, which was seen by Karan Singh at that time. And he was so happy about it, that you got these Mauritians to do this. Are they all Indians? I said, they're not Indians, they're all Mauritians. And they're speaking their text in Nagpur, and it was appreciated, it was liked very much. What it all, then finally my experience as an actor once again, and earlier I was playing a different character, Sanjay in it. And I interpreted Sanjay as a journalist who is merely reporting, who is objective to the whole thing, who is watching and reporting. So after I did 2 more productions of Andha Yug, which I told you about, my own productions. After that, I did acting in Bhanu's production. And this time I was Dhritarashtra, considering my age and my look, etc. I was given Dhritarashtra and I performed as Dhritarashtra. Now once again there was a wide, sort of a huge space around me, and I was conscious that I was sitting against a monument, and I used my emotional memory of that time when I was young and I was working with Al-Qazi. Now this time again, I knew that I have to relearn or remind myself of those days when I was sitting against the monument and holding that stage almost all alone. It was a very good thing that Uttara Bhavkar was playing my wife Gandhari in it. And because she is such a thorough professional, I have a lot of respect for her. And we two together managed the entire backstage. The silence, the idea of solitude amongst a crowd. And there was an atmosphere of quietude we were able to impose on other actors. And 1 hour before the performance, we were ready, made up, and years of discipline in the theatre gave us that. And so Uttara also had a lot of experiences, but we never acted together. She acted in my place, but I didn't act with her as such. So this was quite a different experience in the sense that I was not directing other people, I was dealing with the text as an actor. And I found that Bharati's, ultimately the magic is in the play, in the script, in the text. It charges the actor. It is not us. It is Bharati through us and our experience and his experience, and the text and the words have to be somehow synthesized into one single performance. Now, Bharati has written this play in blank verse, and that gives it it adds to its scale. Again, I did it as a big play. I enjoyed doing it as a big play in the beginning with Mr. Al-Qazi. I enjoyed my last experiences also that I did it. I was participating in a kind of a spectacle in a huge way. In between, I had these two experiences because my mind is such that if I have one experience, then I immediately want to counter it with something different, completely different. So I did this, a small production in a room. So I had these very, very varied experiences with Andhayug. And as I told you, it is Dharmveer Bharati's text which is at the base of it, which actually gave us. Today also when we look for an Indian play or a Hindi play to be done in a major way, it always comes down to Andhayug. All directors worked their souls, have tried their hand on Andhayug with more or less success. Directly has done it in detail.
But as you said, you have done it in a big way, then in a small production, as actor, as director. Is it doing in a spectacular manner and then in a small production? Is it a technical thing, or in different ways you are going to communicate different things to audience?
Different things. Different things.
What are those?
Those are in a smaller space. Even the minor themes get into motion and they become major themes. Just doing Andhayug as it is written, automatically certain aspects of it are highlighted when you are doing it in a smaller space. As I said, minor themes become more important. Now, minor characters become more important. The paradars, the gods, each one acquires an identity because you are so close that you are watching them, so you have to work with them, and those actors are also, because you are sitting next to these great characters and some ordinary characters which it has. So those, even the most ordinary characters get a kind of importance which you will give to a major character. So the whole text, whole thing becomes little different. There is little less emphasis on major characters, little more emphasis on minor characters. And these minor characters seems to be opening the text even further to new meanings. That is what happened there in a small place. In a big place, of course, you play it as a spectacle, as you are aware of Greek theatre and so on. So you play it like that.
But the Andhayug has echoes in the Indian theatre that similar plays have come in other languages. Or
you see, one of the things that happened in 1970s and 1960s, 60s and 70s, was that the whole atmosphere all over the country, though it was amateur theatre, but was charged with the idea of doing plays, the idea of theatre. I don't know where that spirit has gone. It came up in the 60s and 70s in a very strong manner. It was an all-India movement, it was a national movement. And suddenly there was Badal Sarkar in Calcutta, there was Girish and Adirangacharya, a great old man of the Kannada theatre, and there were plays from Mohan Rakesh, Dharmveer Bharati, my good friend Vijay Tendulkar, his plays. Now all these playwrights came together. It rarely happens in history, but it was a historical moment. We didn't realize that we were passing through a renaissance, a small renaissance at that time. And plays which were written in other languages were just in a jiffy translated into Hindi and came to us. For example, I did the first production of Kannada play Kedu Janme Jai, Suno Janmaj, written by Adya Rangacharya. I was still a student. I did a whole production. I was allowed to do a public production by Mr. Kazi. That you do it, it is very nice and so on. So this this give and take was happening all the time. Badal Sarkar's play Evam Indrajit was done by me. Again, it was the first production of the play in Hindi. Similarly, Kannada play was not done there. It was done here in Delhi. And Girish still says, actually he publicly says that Mohan had done what none of us has done for Kannada theatre. We never thought that we would be in Delhi and we would be performed like this and all that. I realized that for them Delhi is a huge thing, it's a big thing if the play is produced in Delhi. I didn't realize, but I just found it interesting. I just found it tremendously interesting that plays were written in different languages and were being translated, and we were in Marathi. Satyadev Dubey did a Marathi production of Andha Yug, and Bengali productions of Andha Yug were done in Calcutta by some other people. Even Shambhu Mitra considered it for some time and then dropped it for some reason, I do not know, but they were doing it. So the important plays which are written in any language whatsoever, language did not matter. It came to us in translation. If the translation was not available, the Tughlaq, for example, a brilliant translation by Karant and other people, Kaushal, is a Kannada play, basically. But these were all, this was taking place and it was happening, and there was a lot of comparisons and so on. Dubey did it this way, Mohan Maharishi did it this way, Al-Qazi did it this way, and suddenly there was this, we felt that a movement is building up. How it finished, where did it go, we do not know.
And Andha Yug was written in the backdrop of Second World War, the kind of devastation it has created. And after that, world has gone through several wars. How you think, what you present when you are presenting it on theatre, how you think that people are getting a message? Is it against war? Is it something which is going a war which is going within us? What is there?
Undoubtedly, the play is about Second World War. It is the aftermath of the Second World War. Whole lot of writers came up in Europe and even in India and all over the world who wrote about the war. But we had no personal experience of war. In India, we hardly know. We had small battles here and there. We hardly know what war means. For a European, they shudder when they think of World War II. It's a big thing. Still, a lot of literature is there which deals with that. The whole spate of existentialist thought of Camus and Sartre, the whole literature came after that. So the kind of disillusionment, disappointment with human race as such, which set in there and which killed their God, the godlessness and all that, didn't happen in India. Our mythological experience of war in Mahabharata, far more important to us, far more intimate to us than the actual war. We haven't seen the horrors of the actual war, really, on that scale.
Then who is the hero of Andha Yug, according to you? Is it Ashwathama? Is it Sanjay?
I don't think we are thinking in terms of heroes and heroines there. We have some huge characters who are pitted against each other. But there are so many. Now, if one were to think in conventional way of heroes and heroines and so on, then perhaps one would say Krishna is a hero. Somebody else will say, no, Sanjay is a hero. or Yutsu is a hero. All of them are outsized characters. Anyone could be projected as a hero. For example, Bhanu wanted to underline, and he succeeded to an extent, underline Sanjay again, because of the contemporary situation. An objective observer becomes important. But one of the things that has happened along with that, the word objective has lost meaning, both scientifically as well as psychologically. Scientifically, I think the outside and inside are merging, are coming closer. The work of Einstein. And psychologically, I think it is the work of people like Freud, Gustav Jung, who brought the inside and outside in relation to each other, very close to each other. So the idea of objectivity actually somehow don't hold water. Subjective, objective are almost, if not completely, almost the same.
If you are going to direct Andhayug now, what is your perspective?
Yeah.
And how it is going to be different from your earlier productions?
See, first of all, I have just now no plans to do it. But immediately after I participated in Bhanu's production last year and I did Dhritarashtra, I really wanted to do it in a room with my wife, all the characters we both playing and all that. I toyed with that idea for some, played. Like, these are our games. You know, theatre people play these games in their minds. But it remained at that stage. And I do not think that we have any plans of doing Andhayug. Only one plan I have, that we, two of us, since we are together in any case all the time, both of us can create those characters. We know the text by heart. So we can render the text in a different way. And some friends could be invited in a cafe or somewhere, and we just could sort of... So this is tongue-in-cheek thing, you know. So my wickedness that I have in my mind at this, I immediately wanted to get back to something which laughs at the whole thing. You see, if you do something very seriously, then you have the urge, at least artists have the urge, to laugh at it all, laugh it out at the end of it. Idea of ridiculing what you have done is so important for your creativity. You may not actually do it on a stage. Sometimes you can do it on a stage, sometimes you do it inside yourself or with friends.
But if you are going to do this, then no lights, no sound, no music.
No music.
And then what is your opinion about Andhayug as a performance? How much music, light and sound created?
I haven't thought about all that. But now when you say, the idea occurs to me that she will be making coffee, or I will be making coffee there, and loudly speaking the thing. And there will be no lighting, and there will be no costumes, and there will be no props. Anything will become a prop. Anything will become anything, you know. And like that, in a house in which people are living simultaneously with the text.
Andhayug got all these it got established on stage, you know. I will say not as an audio drama, but you know, when it comes to the importance of sound in Andhayug,
I agree with you. The words which are chosen by Mr. Alkazi and the manner in which he has arranged them in the text is not a conscious process, it's an unconscious process, but it comes out from his sense of being part of the whole saga. Those words occasionally come. And it is not as Sanskritized Hindi, as people generally believe that is very Sanskrit. Yes, there are some heavy words and so on. Well, what is heavy? Something that we don't understand is heavy. Otherwise, it's a thing. So the language still remains the core strength of the play. But what was your question about it?
The importance of sound, the importance of sound in, is it possible to have, suppose if we withdraw the text, is it possible to interpret Andha Yug?
I'm sure. There'll be elements of pantomime and dance and things like that. If you have to tell the story, then you have to use some medium, if you are not using the text. But if you are not using the text, then why worry about Andhayug? Just do it wordlessly, only with music and sounds and so on. The Mahabharata. After all, it's Mahabharata, it's nothing else. But it is the text which has meaning, which is as powerful. And the sounds introduced inside the text. A word has two things. A word has an intellectual meaning, and word is also a sound. So Bharati's greatness as a writer is that he has used the sounds of the language in such a manner that they communicate the essence of the scene.